Welcome back and thanks for joining us. Dewey and ZenAku up on the menu next. Dan, and this one's do or die for ZenAku. He has to win this one to have any chance of getting out of relegation.
Yeah, and maybe we're just saying this season's been really weird. It doesn't feel like someone of ZenAku's caliber should be, or yeah, he should be down in relegation. It feels like he's been solid and consistent, and yet he hasn't done enough. It's bizarre, but there we go. That's where he's at, and he knows what he's got to do, and he's fortunately going up against an opponent who's not been at their best either in Dewey.
It's going to be an interesting set for sure. I mean, Dewey, again, everybody knows him for that defensive style of play. Is that going to come back to haunt ZenAku? We're not sure. I know that ZenAku has one of the greatest tattoos I've ever seen. Check out his Twitter. Fantastic Quake art. But it's all a matter of winning. He has to do this. He has to win it. Again, he was last stage in relegation, fought off the incoming challenger. It's a lot of pressure, man, being on the chopping block. I'm sure he wants to try and pick up this W and get out of harm's way at the very least, but it's going to have to be one map at a time against a player like Dewey, who's more than capable to absolutely kind of just choke you out of the map, win by 1 or 2 frags, and just leave you helpless and wondering, what do I do to catch this dude? But also he can go on the offensive if he needs to. See that a little bit less here, but Dewey's more than capable of swapping up styles. And ZenAku, he just needs to pull out a victory because I really want to do a Shui on stream, Dan. That's my dream.
Yeah, I think, as you said, pressure's definitely on ZenAku, and I know we've harped on it about it a lot, but he's probably the player with the most to lose in terms of relegation, right? Somebody has sacrificed as much as he has done in terms of moving across the world for his love and his passion, and so to lose that now, being and that kind of established in the QPL, would be pretty heartbreaking as a storyline, I'm afraid. But that's where we are at, and he knows what he has to do, and it's within his remit, his capabilities to prevent that. He's always someone that seems to do particularly well in tournament settings. So if he can get that far and stay kind of head above water, then I think he should be okay.
Well, let's take a look at the pick bands and see what's in store for ZenAku and Dewey. So you mentioned, again, chopping block for ZenAku here. He has to do what he can to claw his way out of here. We got Awoken, Molten Falls, and Tower of Koth, again, to round it out. A little bit of Eisen versus Scale on Awoken. Looks like Strog, Sorlag on Molten Falls. Rounded out with Galena and Ranger on Tower. Anything you see there that stands out to you, Dan?
Yeah, Scale on Awoken is really unusual. I'm not sure if I've ever seen that. Maybe once or twice at least. Nothing that comes to mind, and that's worrying. Obviously a game plan there. We know Dewey loves that champion, but it's not the best map for Scale. But nevertheless, someone as good as Scale as Dewey is, it's a very, very strong champion. Eisen, pretty standard pick, particularly against a Scale bearer. So nothing too untoward there. I'm actually a little bit fearful for ZenAku given the picks for Dewey, because whilst you said he loves to play a defensive style, he is also pretty aggressive given the right champion set. And so having kind of his 3 favored picks in Scale, Sorlag, and Ranger, that might be troublesome for ZenAku. Ending up with Galena, that's we saw with Cypher, that's super strong on Koth, but the Ranger also adds a lot of versatility to the pool as well. Going to be an interesting series.
Can absolutely traverse the map in one dire orb, but Dewey is known for that Dewey orb, up close and personal, lots of burst damage. If you get near him, you're probably dead. And then Scale and Sorlag, the massive stack advantage right off the spawn against the Eisen and Straw could be curtains for ZenAku. And again, this is such a huge set for the Australian, as you said, moved to Poland to pursue his dream. It all comes down to this. It's not that he's completely out if he doesn't win it, but relegation is somewhere you just do not want to be. The pressure, the chopping block, it's never good. So all the pressure is on ZenAku, and if he could pull out a victory, it actually might slide Dewey down into relegation, depending on how the rest of the day goes. But again, one step at a time for ZenAku. It's do or die. He's got to win this.
But as you said, right, that it is Dewey as well who's really under the pressure here. If he goes down 3-0, there's a strong possibility he's the person down at the bottom there. And he's also someone that's not given up a lot to be in the scene, but, has come back to chase his passion. So no one wants to lose today. And this is pretty much the most important match of the day in terms of deciding factors for relegation.
Huge set for both of these players here. I heard the sound we're going to be loading up shortly. Real quick predictions, Dan. Who do you think is going to take this one?
I think it's going to be 2-1 for Dewey.
2-1 for Dewey. I just want to believe. I want to believe in the Shui. I'm going to go 2-1 ZenAku because I'm going to pick with my heart on this one. We'll see, though. We'll see what he has in store for us here, as it's going to be map number 1 on Awoken. I think we should get into it right about meow if we can.
More or less. I can hear lots of sound in the background. I think they're just trying to work out how to get rid of the old Sparty UI.
Yeah, exactly. As we're going to start off on Sparty's POV here. Dewey versus ZenAku. It's a big one. Series number 2 for the day. Map number 1. Strap yourselves in. Dewey on that scale. On that rail. He'll never fail as he grabs the Mega and he's going to put pressure on this Heavy, immediately taking control of the map.
Yeah, that's not the best start for good old ZenAku, who's now coming aggressively against the size of the Scale Bearer, and that's not where you want to be. Not entirely sure what the game plan there was. I think he wanted to beat Dewey to the punch, but that Scale Bearer is quick, deceptively so, and he just scamper himself away, but he's got all the weaponry to fight back, and he doesn't even get the Mega, and there couldn't be a worse start for ZenAku. That is, though, the dream spawn, so it's gone from one extreme to the other.
Yeah, that's exactly what he needed. It could have been absolutely painful if the pain train kept up for Dewey, but now ZenAku full in control. Good rocket to deny that 50. The good rail from Dewey, though, looking for another one. And ZenAku has an opportunity now. There's another great rail here as Dewey's forced down by the drive-through window. Rail's missing. He does have the bull rush. Here it comes. Around the corner, it'll miss.
No
ZenAku
way.
can take sweet advantage of it. Ole, says the Australian as he takes his first frag.
Dewey there with a good spawn. You know how strong the Scale Bearer is off that spawn. ZenAku going up aggressive on the jump, but it's not working out. They're both missing rockets, and they are going to trade. Who's going to get the better spawn? There's nothing really up, but Dewey gets the better weaponry at this point. And just to refer back to what you said, rail is going to be key for ZenAku. My advice would be, no matter the size in real life, I wouldn't want to man fight a Scale Bearer, so try and utilize that rail and range game to keep the stack at bay.
Yeah, if ZenAku can post up and get a couple pot shots, that'll help tremendously. You don't want to go toe-to-toe with the Intergalactic Warlord. Even though he has sandals, he's still a big boy. Very, very thick. Here's that rail. We'll zoom by ZenAku here as he's taking the middle ground. Mega's not going to be up for another 10 seconds. It's going to be the first item up as Dewey is properly positioned near the power up here. Waiting, misses with another rail. Unfortunate, here's the tri-bolt raining out from ZenAku. Won't land either. A little bit of machine gun as he tries to take the corner. And there is the Mega. So Dewey trying to play for this Heavy. As now he's over the jump pad here. There's one rocket, a little bit of splash damage. Timmy could come out to play here. ZenAku does have it, but it looks like he's just going to back away for the time being.
And we are settling into a little bit of a rhythm now as they're both trading major items, sticking to their side of the map. ZenAku desperately trying to get that rail, does eat a rail for it. But Dewey, having hit that, knows he has a big window now to make a move onto this Mega. ZenAku's not even going to stick around. He's holding a rail angle over by the Heavy side. Needs to hit it if he's going to contest for this Heavy. But he's actually
Look at this
playing
hiding.
sneaky.
Ooh. And all of that for 12 damage.
Yeah.
Not a lot here. 6 damage on that LG, trying to make it rain. Can't do it, but at least he'll escape and not take a ton of damage, question mark, as I thought the damage was going to come through the drive-through window. Rocket jumps coming out erratic from ZenAku here. He does not look comfortable. There is something up. ZenAku trying to hit some damage with that rail. He won't. 47 HP, and he is in dire straits right now.
Well, you can see the mental game here, and this is why I was a bit worried for ZenAku, because as soon as a Scale Bearer gets ahead of steam, you can see that he's just... he's trying to... he does hit a rail, which is the best you could have asked for.
You got to commend the effort there. Holding on to the cliff's edge, trying to make it rain. Do the damage you can. 4-2. ZenAku, he just doesn't look comfortable. He looks a little shaky. Something's up, and he's got to try and calm it down here. He's only down by 2, still very early on, but Dewey just looks way more comfortable.
Yeah, it's not looking positive so far. And Dewey here with a nice little trap. ZenAku has no idea. He does back off and just uses that bull rush to steal away the Mega, and it's a really good use of this champion so far. I can see how comfortable Dewey is on him. It's not only the size, it's the speed, it's the abilities. It's working well.
It's the sandals, really. It really makes the outfit. As the rockets through the telly, absolutely huge, and Dewey finds his mark yet again. Does take some good damage there, but he's going to be able to restack off the items in the LG room. Makes his way back through the telly into the T-Con, and he's going to be able to jump right in on the Mega. That rail from ZenAku is going to end up being worthless here. Does have Timmy at his disposal, but These fights are just not going ZenAku's way. Even when he does the damage, Dewey can restack, take the major item, be back to full strength or close to here. And just positioning.
Yep.
So much damage. Wow. Dewey decimates ZenAku there. And off the spawn, relentless. Make it 2 and make it another frag, 7-2. As ZenAku is just getting absolutely piped right now. What do you do, Dan?
I'm not too sure. Not what ZenAku's doing, that's for sure, because he's playing into Dewey's hands. He's incredibly passive. I would love to see him be more aggressive in the mid-range. It feels like he hasn't made any maneuvers. He's just trying to set up these traps or hiding spots to steal away items rather than being progressive in his play. He's not pressuring Dewey around the map whatsoever, and it's also credit to Dewey in the way in which he's being ultra effective in his damage output.
Good LG here is Dewey raining down rockets. Oh, even on the fadeaway, down to 6 HP, ZenAku can't really fight for anything. At best, he's going to be able to steal his heavy. Can he survive? Surely Dewey doesn't let that happen. 25 HP, the rail will miss, and somehow ZenAku stays alive throughout all that.
But that was exactly what I mean. He needs to be more positive in his play in and around the items with the mid-range weaponry, because that's where you're most effective against a scale bearer. And it's just a bit careless there, pushing into that room, not knowing where Dewey is, so a bit sloppy, which is not what we would normally characterize ZenAku as.
Dewey backs up onto that heavy, takes a little bit of LG damage, but no big deal. 60 HP, and that rail will take him down yet again, 10-2, and Dewey's out damaging ZenAku by about 1,000 right now. Just insane difference.
Considering he's the one with the stack, you know, that shouldn't be the case.
Oh, these rails.
His aim's been on fire as well. It always looks lower than it is because Dewey's one of these players that takes a lot of risky shots. Ouch.
It feels like he's just hitting everything.
Exactly.
Percentage-wise, yeah, like you said, doesn't really tell the whole story because Dewey fires pre-fires, you know, jump rails, things like that, but he's just hitting so much right now.
I'm sure in ZenAku's shoes you're thinking he's hitting everything as well, because it just, whatever he turns, it's always some sort of damage meeting him.
Wow, tally again. ZenAku staves off the bull rush, but in the end it doesn't even matter. 11-2. Dewey bull rushing away with this one. 3 minutes left. It's going to take a miracle.
Yeah, this isn't happening. In terms of the feasibility, sure, but in terms of the way this game's been going, I can't say it's going to happen. That's a step in the right direction, but we also know that Dewey can be a literal turtle if he wants to.
And with a lead this big, I mean, will he do that? He might. Dewey doesn't like to take any risks here as the LG pushing through the banana. Misses with the rail, 1 HP. That defensive rocket was big. Trying to go for the tickle, a little bit of the rocket just off the mark here. ZenAku will be able to grab the heavy. Tries to make a jump to the rail. He will land it, but the cutoff will be right there, and the timing on that is perfect. The bull rush will miss, and ZenAku actually takes out Dewey and himself in a panic rocket.
Dewey gets the spawn. Yeah, and you can see now the play he wants to do. He's just going to sit high. Doesn't even need to be aggressive. He doesn't have to be.
Big rockets, huge, chunky rockets. 291 damage, and that's, you know, ZenAku needed that about 6 minutes ago.
Yeah. Really unusual game from ZenAku.
Not what we've grown accustomed to. He's a lot more calculated. He just seems shaky at first. Maybe it's a matter of a little bit of warm-up, some issues. I don't know what it is, but Dewey's down to his last legs here. Can ZenAku add some frags to gain a little confidence going into map number 2? I think that's the name of the game right now, is this one's done and dusted.
Yeah, exactly. Bit of momentum. It's the period of the game now as a player where you're just kind of reflecting on what went wrong and thinking about what's to come. Again, I do harp back to the champion picks, letting Dewey get very much comfort picks. Again, scale's not something that people will generally pick on this map, but we've seen how powerful it can be, particularly when you don't meet it with the right counter strategy from ZenAku's point of view. I don't feel he play to the weaknesses of Scale, which is the size in the mid-range. Didn't use the rail anywhere near enough either.
And you got to think in the back of ZenAku's head, he's thinking, this is it. I can't let this happen. Or maybe he's just like, you know what? Relegation isn't so bad. I'm comfortable there. I've fought my way out before. I could do it again as the Rockets raining down on Dooi here, trying to fight Timmy and Eisen, and he gets away with it. And Bull rushes out with about 25 HP.
I don't think anyone in the history of sport has ever said relegation isn't that bad.
It's not so bad being on the chopping block. Well, done and dusted officially. Dooi takes map number 1 on Awoken against ZenAku. And again, as a ZenAku fan, you got to think that that was just rust, shake off the rust, dust, whatever he must as he goes into map number 2, because that was not the performance we're used to seeing from him.
No.
But hats off to Dooi. I mean, Dooi played it exactly how he needed to. As you said, he got the pick that he liked. We've seen him on the scale, very, very comfortable. Look, just in control the whole time. I mean, the first 20 seconds, 30 seconds of the map, he had full map control, just right off the bat. That set the pace.
Yeah, and the thing that most impressed me was the aim. Everything was connecting, and I think we're probably a bit more critical now coming off the back of watching Cypher Sparty, because in that matchup we saw Cypher playing incredibly calculated in position, where ZenAku was being, as we said in the cast, like pretty sloppy. He was overexposing himself consistently, and he was moving from ultra defensive to ultra aggressive. You can see here him just running into Dooi. I mean, this is the end of the map, but even at the start, running into Dooi, making some random rocket jumps, and it wasn't as clinical as we've seen in the past from him. So definitely needs to take a step back, take a bit of a breath, reset going into, I believe it's Molten now with the Sorlag.
Yep, we got Molten coming up. We got Sorlag versus Strog, and again, the pressure mounting for the Aussie as he needs to make some magic happen here. As we take a look at the stats for Dooi on that one, strong performance on map number 1, looking to further extend that dominance into map number 2. Sorlag versus Strog is going to be, already in Dewey's advantage, in my opinion, just based off the stack. The refrag capability is going to be huge depending on where you get the spawn. You do enough damage, you're right back in it with a shotgun or a machine gun. It could be haunting for ZenAku. He's got to play a lot more clean. I want his mechanics to be a lot cleaner as well. We saw, again, those errant rocket jumps. As you said, kind of sloppy play just mentally. After Dooi took full map control in the first 20-25 seconds, you kind of saw ZenAku push with LG, and it's like, I don't care how good your LG is, you can't melt a scale that's fully stacked with both items. It's just very difficult to do.
Yeah, it was just, unfortunately, wrong choice after wrong choice. So, new map, new strategy, new game plan, let's go. And it will need to be a new one, because I expect more of the same from Dooi on Sorlag. Pace, aggression, and if he's as clinical as he was in the last map, it's going to be an uphill battle for ZenAku.
Yep, he needs to be T-Swift and shake it off as much as he can here. A lot more rail and hit and run would be nice, and then kind of close the gap with Strog. I think we might see that from ZenAku. We've seen it before. When he pops off with his rails and he lines up those shots and he gets that chip damage, goes in for the kill, it works out nicely. I'm sure Dewey's going to be onto that, and he wants to get up close and personal with Sorbet, but I really want to see a little bit more rail action from ZenAku, maybe a bit of a slower pace. We'll see. Again, on the chopping block. Hate to beat a dead horse here, but this is for all the marbles. Relegation is somewhere you don't want to be, as you said. No one in their right mind in sport has ever said, you know what, I'm okay being down here. It's fine. This is fine. As the world around them is burning ever so gently. But we're going to hop into a map number 2, Molten Falls. Dooi versus ZenAku. Strog versus Sorbet.
Yep, and the Strog definitely offers a lot more versatility than the Eisen. So I hope to see ZenAku putting that to good use.
Mega goes to Dooi. ZenAku claims the heavy. Dooi has rockets already, waiting. Top platform near the shotgun here, waiting for the sound keys. I think he hears him out and he's just waiting, baiting, hoping. Please come up the jump pad and eat all of my rocket damage. Ooh, and he gets in and out.
Typical Dooi, taking up rather unusual silent positions. But we've also seen the other side of Dooi today. When he's in the Ascension, he definitely loves to bring the heat.
And not afraid to push the advantage when he knows he has it. He's just very calculated. If he knows that he can win the fight, he's going in there. And if that means aggression, great. If that means playing very defensive, he'll do that too. Whatever it takes to get the W. As this one is just a Bit of a stalemate here. Dewey just waiting under shotgun, trying to get the sound cues. There it is. He's tracking it perfectly. Mega's up. There's the peeker. Misses with the rail, but ZenAku doesn't want to pursue.
Much more calculated start from ZenAku.
Big defensive rocket from Dewey. ZenAku will grab the heavy. Does have good item control, stacks about even here.
But that was nice from the Australian. Pushing out aggressively to try and secure that high ground before picking up the heavy, and that's also one in the Mega because Dewey was now very much out of position. Does back off, but take a lot of damage in the process.
Big damage from ZenAku. He's going to need more of that too. So Dewey is just going to try and work his way towards these 250 shards. That rail's going to be huge. He should know that he's weak.
Nice.
Another one as well. And this is exactly the position that ZenAku wants to be in. He's going to claim the heavy. Mega's not up for a while. And if he can make it all the way back, this should be a potential frag as he gets caught out.
Nice.
And there it is. Shotgun blast to the face. ZenAku goes up one frag.
Much, much better. Read his opponent's movements. Nice damage back to back. Didn't overcommit and then completely outplayed Dewey with a double back.
Much more calculated, looks a lot more in control, even denying this 50. Misses with the rail follow-up, but he is going to be able to back out onto the heavy. Again, much more calculated, knowing when the item timings are, knowing when to take the fights and what he could fall back to, looking a lot more solid on map number 2.
Yeah, 100%. Just needs to keep this up. He's playing the items well. Dewey's putting zero pressure on them, so you've got to make this stat count. You can see Dewey, absolutely nothing to his name, just playing ultra defensive positions, but 3 rails back to back. That's troublesome for ZenAku. Nice peeker, but it's not enough as Dewey hits another rail. He's pretty low and he will be going down. That's unfortunate. Yeah, unfortunate spawn.
He's going to be out. This is going to be the war. And there it is, ZenAku. Can't get it and he drops onto it, but Dewey's right there and I don't understand. That is unfortunate. ZenAku should have had that Mega in his pocket. He's going to be able to rail off the spawn. Dewey's going to keep fighting. Here's the peekers. Are going to be enough at 25. He has enough time to get this before it spawns. Is Dewey going to be able to steal it again before he goes down? He might even be able to win this and turn it around. There's another rail from ZenAku. He needs one more. Machine gun anything.
Nice.
Finally, the rail on the exit. ZenAku needs to be able to weapon switch a little bit better here. You can't let this get out of control. The items just keep going to Dewey, and there's nothing ZenAku can do about it except for massive amounts of LG damage.
But that's absolutely fine. Playing a better position where you got a low risk of damage receipt. It's saying massive damage, neutralizing that item. It's pretty low now, so once again, just try and do some damage on this item, mitigate the pickup. He's in a better position. He's got the lead. He's delayed it as well. He might be able to pick this Mega, but Dewey's going to be pushing in. Unfortunately, he does clip himself, so has to suffice with the rail, which he doesn't hit, and that's the best case scenario for the Australian.
Still up one. Doesn't have a peeker as he's waiting patiently for this rail. Did he see that tail? I don't think so. Here is Dewey waiting patiently right outside of shotgun. ZenAku waiting patiently above the heavy. There's a rocket.
Oh.
Just for you. Good rail from ZenAku there. He's actually going to be able to deny the 50 shard after that massive rocket from Dewey on the heavy. And it looks like the rotation through Mega's relatively clean. Actually, never mind. There's Dewey. Hop, skip, and a jump as ZenAku gives up position, and there it goes. It's gone, just like that.
You see the mind games at play here. The fact that Dewey did such massive damage on that last heavy pickup made ZenAku almost scared to commit for that Mega without knowing exactly where the lizard was.
Ooh, good rail through the telly there. ZenAku just took his eyes off the prize for a second there. Seconds can lead to big damage here. ZenAku doing a good job of rotating between the items now. Securing them as best he can, but he still needs a little bit more damage to feel comfortable, as one quick fight with the sorbet could leave you just burning alive. There's a good rail, doesn't take return damage as well, and he grabs that heavy. Dewey knows that, so he's going to back off, try and find another point of attack here, as he's still got plenty of time, only down one. And just going right for it. There's the rockets. Huge, and he's going to actually just step off and say goodbye.
Oh Man, that was so close, but also relatively unnecessary. As you said, loads of time left. There's no need to go that ham for the item. Although, doing as much damage as he did, he's in a very commanding position. He just needs to make sure now the pressure actually increases. He doesn't want to let Dooi get his stack back. This next mega is huge for ZenAku. He can't afford to let it go. Using the Pika to spot out Dooi.
Oh no,
Perfect timing.
He could get this though. There's the shotgun switch, and that's going to net him the frag. And I don't know earlier whether he got popped off the ledge. It looked like he just walked off, but he makes up for it. Needs to be careful though. Right off the spawn, still very weak. Is Dooi coming in hot with the nails. Big damage there from Dooi with the shotgun. The Rockets find their mark, but Dooi, that sorbet just so thick. Tied at 4, 7 minutes in, and this could spiral out of control here as it looks like Zen shouldn't really be here. He might try and get some damage with the peeker, maybe a rail on the way out, but that's a relatively clean pickup for Dooi, and he's gonna chase. Never mind. Decides to disengage, but that could have been curtains for ZenAku here. It's a good rail. Might even follow up with another as the spit comes out defensively for Dooi. Wants to maintain position on this mega. Another great rail from Zen. Misses with the third. Does hit one after the pickup, which is going to be crucial here for Zen as he wants to whittle away. And there's another great angle. Almost gets a third. So ZenAku heating up ever so gently.
Yeah, we can see the difference. The difference now is that ZenAku is playing so much more effective in terms of his position, his approach play to the items, and that's again reflected in the damage output. Dewey's struggling to do any damage this map. Completely 180 from the previous match.
That peeker was huge. Slapped the sorbet in the face here. Has the one frag lead. Waiting. Trying to deny LG as best he can. He knows that Dooi needs it. There's the 50 shard, but there's the pickup that should give him all the awareness he needs. He's going to wait for this heavy. Dewey's going to come in hot, and he knows that he can't really do damage from there, so he's going to back away. There's the peeker again. Good shotgun there from Dooi.
That's just a delaying tactic. He knows that Dooi can't get out, and so delays him enough to pick up the mega.
Ooh, that rail right in the tail. ZenAku leaving Dooi a little bit low here as the split between the items is pretty big. He's actually going to leave the heavy up for a little bit longer. Knows he has the time. There's Dooi right on time with a rocket. Just so good into a rail. Big damage from Dooi. There's the cutoff. He wants the frag. Just barely mistimed it. If ZenAku was a little bit closer, that could have been in Dewey's favor here, but he's earned himself the mega with that play. And now, less than a minute, ZenAku trying to hold on to this lead of one frag. 40 seconds, and it looks like he's going full defense.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure why you would delay that item with only kind of one set of rotations to go. I would have tried to take the item as quickly as possible and reposition, but nevertheless, it happened, and he's got 20 seconds to burn now. He's on the run. Dooi needs to track down his opponent. He's coming in the right direction. ZenAku sticks around for the rail, and now needs to get out of dodge. Dooi has to chase, though. But not coming through there should be a warning sign that Dooi has double back at some point.
Oh no.
They're going to meet here though. Big shotgun blast coming out. The rocket as well. ZenAku's low. Pika coming out. Dewey's going to drop, and he has to skirt away because he's incredibly low as well. ZenAku gets away.
Wow.
Just.
Whew. I'm sure alongside myself, you, all of chat was clinched on that one. ZenAku slides away with that one just barely. That last fight almost going in the favor of Dooi to send it into OT, but ZenAku hanging on by a thread, and it looks like it's going to go to map number 3, and this is exactly what ZenAku needed. It wasn't the cleanest, it wasn't the most convincing, but he got the job done.
And he did everything he could to throw that game right at the end there. But as you said, it wasn't the cleanest, but the map throughout until the last minute or so was very clean. There are some unusual decisions like that one there, for instance, dropping back down on the mega, but overall, you could see he played a much more calculated game. He favored position over just playing the items a lot. Dooi got suckered into a few of them, and he was much more efficient in his output. So all credit to ZenAku to regrouping and get back into it the way he did.
Yeah, keeping his head in the game, really, really huge there. And again, the victory is the victory. It doesn't matter if it was the cleanest. I'm sure he's already thinking, you know, he could have done a lot of things better, but whatever, put that in the back of your mind. One last map, and it's going to be a big one. Tower of Koth. Galena versus Ranger. Again, dooi, world famous for his dooi orbs. I think this is going to be another rail-heavy map for ZenAku. Rather, it should be, just given based on the size of it, but also because ZenAku just seems to play better when he's able to position, hit rails, chip damage, and then kind of engage on his terms.
Yeah, and Galena will actually force him to play a slightly more conservative type of game in that aspect as well. Back to his roots in terms of strategy and a methodical approach, which will favour him. Again, Ranger offers dooi that versatility to be super defensive, but then turn up the tempo as and when he needs to. So it's going to be an interesting final map because, as we said, right at the very off, it's a huge map to win for both these players as well.
I'm really excited to see if dooi kind of has any set pieces with the Dire Orb. I mean, you could traverse the whole map, and there's got to be something up his sleeve. Maybe he's saving that tech for Stage 1 finals. We'll see if we'll see any of those set plays. But I think the key factor for ZenAku is just getting that totem economy going as quick as you can, always having the overstack, and being able to hide totems throughout the map is going to be huge. There's a lot of spots for him. Maybe he knows some cheeky ones, but overstack is going to be the deciding factor, in my opinion, for this one.
Yeah. It is. It's always going to be crucial, and as we saw, you can get them up in the first round of rotation if you do it smartly. So if you can do that, really consolidate that advantage, then play around the heavy as a preference. You're in a really sound position.
So this is it, chat. The final map to decide it all for ZenAku here, as he's fighting from the corner, fighting for his life. It looks like just skirting away with that last map. Tower of Koth going to be the last one. Is dooi going to take this away and crush his hopes and dreams, or is ZenAku going to have a fighting chance? We will see shortly. With bated breath, I don't know. I think, what did we say, 2-1 dooi, right?
We said 2-1 dooi, man.
This is it. Well, I said 2-1 ZenAku, but we'll see. I just want to do a shoey, Dan. That's all I've ever wanted in my life. Growing up, I always said, yeah, it's such a simple thing. I just want to do a shoey with my homies on the Quake Pro League stream. That's all I want. But it sounds like we loaded in, so I think we're going to swap over to Tower of Koth. This one is, again, a big one for these two players here, trying to make sure that they can get out of relegation. ZenAku on the chopping block. Give him your energy, chat. So we're going to go live on this one. Map number 3, dooi versus ZenAku for series number 2 of the day. Right off the bat, huge damage with the Dire Orb, chased with the LG. The totem comes down just in the nick of time, too. And actually, ZenAku a little bit better off because he found some armor after that one. Huge engagement right off the bat. Players will take to their corners and try and restack off what they can and grab some actual weapon.
Yeah, some of the starts on Koth are actually pretty chaotic, but then it normally settles down into a bit more of a traditional stalemate play set.
Just missing out on that rail. Unfortunate there. dooi so stacked. ZenAku does have the totem in his pocket.
dooi still needs a rail though. That's one of the benefits that ZenAku has here, is he spotted him going to get it, defending that rail, hits a nice shot.
Oh my god, that rocket. A thing of beauty from dooi. Perfect read there. Perfectly placed. Looking for another one here. Zen needs to be careful. Zen trying to land those rails, find those angles. He's going to push in for the LG, get a little bit of a tickle from dooi. And another rail traded out nicely there from the Oss. As dooi's very weak. He's going to wait on the 50. Still has 25 or 50 HP. He's going to grab a 25. Needs to be careful. Dealing with the totems nicely as he sees him. There's the drop with the rockets. The Dire Orb to close the gap, but ZenAku will win with the rocket play. And that's going to be big. He's very weak off the spawn. Can he do it? LG, and he'll actually take another frag. 25 HP, so weak. And he's just looking for his totems. He's like, please let me survive. 10 HP. He does have a totem in the pocket. Tries to go for a rail. There's a 25 and another totem. And this machine gun, relentless, and somehow Zen does it again.
And all of that came from trading that rail before the first frag. If he didn't trade that, Dewey could have pushed in aggressively and won that mega. But because he traded that, it forced Dewey to defensive position and then some really great back-to-back rail play since then.
Looking strong from the start. Is ZenAku going to do this? Is he going to buy himself some breathing room?
He's in a perfect position to do it. Galena can just set up camp and play ultra defensive. He's already got the overstack up as well, so can bait out this mega if he needs to. Lost one totem already though.
Smallest of tickles as Dewey drives by here. The green machine on the hunt, trying to make something happen down 3. ZenAku 12 seconds until he gets his overstack totem. Whether he wants to place that or keep it in his pocket is up to him, but he's quite content with playing this kind of stealthy game right now. Up 3, 7 minutes remaining, which is an eternity, but for ZenAku, he's just counting down the seconds until he takes this dub. Spots out Dewey.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that rocket. That was so good, and Dewey tries to backpedal in to get into a rail, but just that air rocket was so outstanding from ZenAku.
So smart from ZenAku, just setting up camp in that mid ground before the heavy. He allowed Dewey to pick up that mega and go aggressive. He wanted that to happen, so Dewey played right into the Australians' hands, and now he's giving up another frag. Still 6 minutes to go, as you said, a long time, but on Koth, that time goes very quickly.
Totem are dealt with nicely from Dewey, as Zen has one in his pocket and that's it. So overstack not a factor right now, but still up 4. Establishing the lead early is going to be huge because now he can play the distance, as you said. Rail only, stealthy. One step closer to the Shui here as Zen just tracking, stalking his prey. He knows the mega's up. He's waiting patiently. There's the jump pad play from Dewey. And you see Dewey, every time he gets relatively close to ZenAku, he'll dire orb into him to try and close the gap, take that fight up close and personal, and take away the rail angles for Zen. That rocket jump right there, unfortunately not landing, couldn't close the gap. And ZenAku gets a clean heavy. And now he's made his way back to the mega. It's a bit early, but again, the map is so huge, he can kind of play really slow, really stealthy, and just dictate the pace of the game the way he wants.
And that's exactly what he's doing. I was about to say, this map actually favors the way Zen likes to play because it's so methodical. He's playing so smart. He's playing the map positionally much better than Dewey. There's some great rails, that will definitely help his cause. But Dewey needs to get a firmer grasp on the mid ground because at the moment, that's all Zen's camping out on.
It's good work from Dewey. It took a lot, though. Used the dire orb, had to get up close and personal with the shotgun. Still left with 57 HP. He's going to grab a 50 short and a 25. He's going to try and stack back up to 100, 100. But ZenAku giving up these frags. You can't help but think he didn't need to peek earlier for that first frag he gave away. Could have wasted more time. Yeah. Trying to do some damage where he can. And you gotta, I feel like you gotta commit to a playstyle. If you're gonna chunk time, you gotta chunk time. Don't give him any options. Don't give him any fights. But he's kind of stuck in this. I want to peak, but I don't. But I also want to waste time. And now Dewey is closing the gap on the frag deficit.
Yeah, up until that point, all of his frags have been in a relatively similar pattern, and so he kind of retreated away from that playstyle, as you said. We can see him now going back to it, sitting on the heavy side of the map, waiting for Dewey to pick up this mega. And then if he wants to advance, allowing him to do so and taking a fight on his terms.
4 minutes remain as I believe Dewey heard that heavy pickup. Taking control of the high ground, sussing it out, making sure that ZenAku's not there anymore. ZenAku doing well to stay away. He's got a second totem in his pocket, and down it goes. So working on that overstack totem in about 20 or 40 seconds, excuse me. And Dewey just trying to stalk his prey from the high ground, but every second that ticks away,
you can see the pattern, right? He sticks on that mid ground, he takes the heavy, he goes all the way around the outskirts of the map, picks up the mega, and kind of rinse and repeat that pattern. So Dewey needs to work out that formula, and then he's got him in the bag, essentially.
There's the heavy pickup for Dewey. Now he takes the long road trip over to get across the map. He does take out one totem on his journey.
The only negative from a ZenAku point of view is he's doing absolutely nothing to mitigate Dewey's stack. Sure enough, cost big enough where you can just run for days and you can use the geometry to truly punish your opponent if they chase you. But it's still a warning sign when your opponent hits that critical mass, particularly with a ranger, when he can just close the gap with that dire orb. We haven't seen it come to play at all so far because he hasn't been able to find his opponent, but still, it is a factor. And all it takes is for one frag to have that opening for a spawn, and suddenly you're on even.
If Dewey can get in and get this frag and be down one, and maybe the gods bless him with some good spawn RNG, he could just get the spawn frag immediately, and then we're looking at 4-4 with about a minute and a half left. There's the heavy pickup for Zen. Good rocket from down below as Dewey doesn't want Zen to be able to escape here. He's trying to cut it off, but he doesn't want to fully commit and drop down because that would be suicide as well. So doing well to kind of maintain his position, but the tri-bolt will get ZenAku out. 2 minutes left, and Dewey has to pick up the pace as he's going to grab the 50 shard and make his way back to the Mega, and then surely he's going to start chasing a little bit harder because time is ticking. Rail takes out the totem, but ZenAku says, take out the totem, I'll take you out. 85, and there's another Rail.
Nice.
Again, as ZenAku, that might be the final nail. 3 frags up, a minute 30 left on a map this big is going to be rough. Dewey does have a dire orb and rockets. He's got to find him, though. Got to get up close and personal, try and mitigate the damage that he's going to take inevitably from ZenAku here. And ZenAku, he may have done it. There's the LG, there's a great Rail. Plus back, there's the dire orb with the cutoff on the Mega. Fantastic play from Dewey, but he's going to drop down, grabs a 50 shard. There's a rocket through the telly. Oh my god, the rocket's so good from Dewey. Somehow surviving, 65 HP. He's going to cut across the map. There's the rocket in his pocket, 100 damage. Fake rocket jump here, as now he's slowing it down. He has to track ZenAku here. He can't let him get away.
It looks like that ZenAku is just wasting enough time here, and Dewey actually decides to retreat. He didn't have a Rail. That was the biggest problem, and that was a crucial Rail to hit, and now he's under a world of pain as he has to chase, and he's not got a lot of health or armor to do so. The heavy's up, but will he even wait around for it? No, ZenAku now picks up the Mega, nearly misses it. Dewey desperately trying to find his opponent. He has found him down here as he drops down to the low ground, doesn't hit the Rail, orbs through diversion, and he probably should have taken it as ZenAku just buys his time and doubles back.
15 seconds now as Dewey on the hunt. Rarely do you see him in this position. It's usually him in ZenAku's position, but it looks like with 9 seconds left, somehow ZenAku has done it. He kept his head in the game, and for the time being, he has given himself the ability to get out of relegation, Dan. He did it. He did what he needed to do. It wasn't the cleanest, it wasn't the prettiest, although on the last map it was a little more clinical, but it was a rough start for the Australian, but he pulled it out.
Man, it couldn't have been any worse. He really set himself up to fail with that opening map. But
tell me how you really feel, Dan. Damn.
I think that's just ZenAku through and through, right? He's a grafter. He dug his heels in, and he didn't give an inch from map 2 onwards. Let's just ignore map 1. But from that 2 onwards, he just grounded out. That was a real grafted victory.
Yeah, he worked harder, as you said. I guess it couldn't have been worse. A little rough for the boy, all right? But he did it. He did it. He put it up. 2-1 for ZenAku, staying alive, depending on how the rest of the NA games go. But there we take a look at the overall stats. Big shouts to him. Shuey's in the chat for the Australian, as he did what he needed to give himself the best chance of not being relegated, but we'll see. It's fate, unfortunately, is out of his hands. His destiny is out of his hands, but he did what he needed to help himself the most.
100%. So fully deserved. You see how close those final 2 scorelines were, and they were very close. Koth was a low-scoring map, low-damage map, but he played it smarter. He allowed Dewey to play what he thought was his game, but he was actually playing into ZenAku's hands. It was a very controlled victory overall.
Really, really good play from ZenAku, especially after the rough start. Kind of a testament to his mentality going in, being able to kind of clean slate it and say 1 map at a time, no matter what. If things don't go my way, I'm not giving up, and that's huge in the game of Quake. So big shouts to ZenAku. Dewey, not the outcome he wanted. I don't know. I'll have to take a look at the standings during the break and take a look exactly what that means for him. But on that note, I think congratulations to ZenAku, but we will take a break, and we'll be right back with more of Sparty's POV.